Do you think it's sad that in the UK, there's no infrastructure, very, very little infrastructure to stop young men going down the path that you went down, becoming a party boy? Or a lot of young men become much, much worse. They become junkies, they get hooked on drugs. There's no messaging against that. The media doesn't talk about it. Nobody's trying to lift young men out of this problem. If a man's taking good smoking weed, as long as he's, as long as he's somewhat productive, he could be a builder, to the government. He's somewhat productive. If he's smoking weed, taking coke, drinking himself to death, no one seems to care about this. But the moment a guy starts working his way up, peeks his head above the precipice where, perhaps he shouldn't be looking, starts making a lot of money, starts having a loud opinion, suddenly that guy's a problem. We need to shut him up. We need to stop him from doing what he's doing. But, if you're at the bottom spiraling down the toilet of self-destruction, that's perfectly fine. No one's trying to stop you.
Yeah, because you're low vibration. You don't then question the narrative because everything it's not toxic, but it's everything. You're weighed down by everything, whether it's drugs, drink, gambling, sex, porn, money. Like, it weighs us down. It lowers your vibration. So if you've got a low vibration and are addicted to something, your mind can't ask the questions because people are so caught up in the system where they don't pop their head out and say, what a minute, what is this schooling system? Why am I working 9 to 5? Why am I paying 50%, 45% tax? I'm working half the year for free. Nobody works. And what happens is drinking drugs makes the world go round. Every shop in the UK is either a pub or a bookies or a Indians or a Chinese. It's garbage food, alcohol. So if you're low vibration and taking that stuff, you can't think for yourself. You're not a free thinker because everything's static. So the majority of kids in the jail are addicted to drugs. They come from broken homes. Why is there broken homes? Because people end up addicted to some sort of drink or drugs or pharmaceutical drugs. So they want the broken homes. They want the weak kids. So because everything's control. If there's no drinking drugs, the world's a beautiful place.
It is.
Because the majority of people who I meet are fucking sound. I get a bit of shit online, but nobody ever says anything to my face. I believe I'm a good guy. You know what I'm saying? But people have a couple of drinks, it changes people. They say alcohol comes from the Arabic word, which is alcohol.
Yes.
That's why you call it body eating spirits. That's why they call it spirits, because people do things they regret. You're putting yourself in compromised positions. I thought back in the day, sitting at a party, taking lines, 2-3 days. Bear in mind, I've got kids back then, 2 kids. Never cared. It was not I didn't care. I did care. I just never had the mental capacity. I never had a role model. I never had anybody to say, listen, what you're doing is wrong, because it was so acceptable. I was snorting gear with my fucking uncles and
everyone did.
Best, so everybody was cool going to the 40th party or the 30th or the wedding, even funerals. Funerals was a fucking, we were snorting lines off coffins. That's how fucking deranged we were. So when you start changing it though, your vibration does change. You see the world differently. I see the world differently. I question it also, because it's like I'm always in a contradiction with myself. I like the farmhouse. I love nature. I want more kids, but I also like being in the hustle. So it's like, why do I want to move away? But then why do I want to be still in the game? It's like a contradiction. I love my watches. I love my cars. I think, but then I just want to grow my pubes and drive around in a fucking scooter and just think all that stuff. But then again, I'll still be online looking at a new watch. So it's like I'm constantly battling something that I don't even know what I'm battling.
I think a lot of people feel that way. And on the topic of alcohol, what you were saying is very, very true. I gave this example once. I said, you ever been to a nightclub sober? When you're in a nightclub sober, it's absolutely everything around you. You're looking at every other table. You're looking at the people at the door. You just take in the whole location, and you're standing around usually bored. But if you're a nightclub drunk, if you were to ask anything that happened off of your table, you don't. Because everything, the fun's right here, everyone's right here, and you're having your fun and you're drinking your alcohol, but you have no perception of anything that goes on anywhere else in the nightclub. And that's a very easy experiment to do if you typically drink in clubs. Go to a club sober. Notice how many other things you notice about that place. And it's the same with your worldview. And it's the same with, like you said, realizing what's actually happening everywhere else in your country, with your society, with your taxes, with your job. See, drinking, I drink, by the way. I still drink, but I advise some people not to drink, because I think it's all about personality types. It depends how content you are with yourself, how happy you are with yourself. It's not good for you. It's not something you should make a habit of. But I've met people where every time they get drunk, they become an absolute nuisance. And I've said to them, I sat them down and said, you need to stop drinking, because alcohol is bad for you. If I have a few drinks, I'm sitting there telling jokes, playing cards with my friends, go to sleep, wake up, do my work anyway. But for some people, every kind of substance is much worse than for others. I think there's a scale of it. I know very high functioning people who take cocaine. I also know total degenerates who take cocaine. So with drinking, my advice, because people watch me and they say, oh, but you drink. And you advise young men not to drink. Yeah, don't make a habit of it. And if you find yourself getting in a fight, upsetting your family, if you wake up the next day after a good drink and everyone's mad at you, maybe alcohol's not, something that you should partake in at all. And I feel it's shifting. It's been part of human culture for so many thousands of years, but in this day and age, fewer people are drinking than ever because there's a lot more to do. There's a lot more other ways to entertain yourself than just getting drunk. So hopefully that becomes less of a problem, especially in the UK where it's
a massive problem.
It's a pandemic.
Yeah, it's so normalized. We've got football on every night. It's so easy to then go to the pub. Remember, it lowers your depression and raises your confidence. It's a beautiful thing. There's sometimes I miss it because of the feeling. I was at a beach bar yesterday and friends were drinking and I'm just sitting there. And it was great for 2 hours, but then the noise gets louder and it's the grabbing and then it's more personal questions. Like, I like to walk into a room, like you walked in, big, smooth, fucking owned the place.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? There's an elegant of confidence. Same as when you walk into events, everybody's sheepish. 2 hours later, they're all up shaking their little asses on the dance floor, all loud. But speak to them the next day. And I've not got problems with anybody drinking. Anybody can do what they want. I just can't, because if I drink, I'm straight on the coke. I'm fucking phoning hookers or I'm in the gambling or whatever. I go completely insane.
Yeah, so it's just something that you shouldn't touch.
I can't put one bet on. I can't take one line. And also because I know how good my life is from nothing, from staying in my mum's house 7 years ago to totally transitioning my life to then leaving a little legacy and something my kids can respect and hopefully go, if he can do it, I can do it. But it's a tough journey.
Yeah. My new rule I've basically set for myself, especially in this day and age when I'm a public person and I don't want to set a bad example. My real drinking is in my house with my friends. That's when I drink. If I'm sitting up late at night talking to my friends, I'll have a drink. If I'm playing poker, I'll sit in my house and drink. I don't drink in public. I will never be spotted drunk, stumbling out in a public place. I really, really try to avoid that kind of thing because now I know there's lots of eyes on me and I never want to be that guy.
I'd be scared. I'd be on fucking Instagram lives calling everybody out when if I drinking.
Well, luckily I'm banned from Instagram, but it's tempting sometimes,
Yeah.
Gotta stay off Twitter.
How is it though when you're going through everything in life? Do you wake up with a hangover?
I read a study saying about how there's this strange percentage of people who don't really get hungover, who can drink without throwing up and just drink and drink and drink, and that's it. And I don't know if it's the Irish gene in me or something, but I can outdrink basically everyone I've ever met. Bigger, heavier, doesn't matter. If I want to drink, not that it's a contest, I can outdrink basically every person I've ever set eyes on. That's sober, just alcohol. Nothing else. Like, there's a few guys who get on the gear and they're a bit stronger, but. Yeah, I've never had a problem with it. If I go for a night out, I'll drink. I'll still wake up at 8, 9, 10. I used to drink, if I didn't have a fight coming up, I used to drink when I was actively kickboxing. And I'd wake up and do my training anyway. And sometimes you have a bit of a headache or a bit of a dry mouth, but I've never really suffered with hangovers.
What about the smoking? Because you've always got those little fucking cigars.
Yeah, so I actually didn't smoke my first cigar until I retired from professional fighting. So it's advice that I give to young men all the time. They say, you smoke, can I smoke? I say, yeah. When you're 30. So what do you mean 30? That's wild. Like the smoking age is 16 or 18. Why do you say 30? I say, because cigarettes are enjoyable, cigars are enjoyable. They really are. And if you dedicate your 20s to sport or work and you become a successful person, you've been in good shape your whole life. I mean, me and Andrew are in very good shape now for our age. I'm 36, he's 38. We're approaching 40 and we look very good for our age, is because in our youth, we did nothing but train ourselves all day, every day. So now if I want to have a little cigarette, if I want to have a cigar, I don't feel bad about it. I was saying this to a friend of mine who's 24. He works for me. I said, you've smoked more cigarettes in your life, because he just quit, than I will ever smoke. And he said, yeah. I said, you're 24. You've smoked more cigarettes in your life than I will ever smoke. I smoked my first cigarette 2023 when I was in prison. In January 2023. That's the first time I ever inhaled smoke from anything. Before that, it was just cigars. And I said, don't you feel bad that you wasted all of those enjoyable cigarettes, which are great reading a book or having a conversation or having a drink with your friends or out on a date? Cigarettes are great. Aren't you sad that you wasted them all, scrumping your last money together to buy a pack to sit behind a bus stop and smoke all these cigarettes all day? He went, yeah, I kind of did. Because I'm 24 now. I've got to quit because I've been smoking prolifically since age 15 years of age. So he smoked more cigarettes than I ever will in my life. But yeah, I do smoke now. Yeah, and I like smoking, and I don't apologize for smoking.
No, why should you? Listen, just, like I said,
But young men
I believe
need
everything's the intention behind it. My
Yes.
grandfather was still smoking hash and snorting cocaine and drinking up until he was 86 or 87.
Yeah, there we
he
go.
wasn't giving a
Yeah,
but I think it was the intention. I used to say, listen, you need to fucking stop that. He said, fuck off. I says, me, I'm not changing now. And
Yeah.
late in his 70s, in his 80s, like it was mad.
yeah.
And he was always driving about. He was a fucking terrible driver once he got his 80s.
bet.
But it was crazy. I think the intention behind that, I just believe I'm a better person without it.
Yes.
If I was to start drinking coffee, I'm 5-6 coffees a day. Like,
Yeah.
it's just something internally. It's the feeling it takes me away from reality. I think something that gives me that extra little buzz. But now it's just, I wouldn't say I'm in a life of fucking pain. I've got a great life, but I just feel as if it's constant hustle. It's constant pressures. What's my next move?
Yeah.
It's just, I just feel as if I can handle it better because I'm lazy without it. I used to smoke weed as well back in the day.
Yeah.
So I was lazy.
Weed makes you lazy. Yeah.
I know, like you say, functioning cocaine addicts. I know people who go to the gym on weed.
Yes.
I wasn't. I was fucking paranoid. I used to just sit in the house and smoke a joint, and I hated it. I hated the fucking feeling, but I done it because it took me away from reality. It's mad. Like, my mind was mad, and I'm not doing any of the bad things, but I'm still quite lazy.
Yeah.
So that's just me in a hole.
Well, if I'm in work mode, I actually do give up the drinking. People see a lot of my life and it looks like a lot of fun because I do like to have fun. But to give you an example, since I came to Dubai just over a month ago, I've been here about just over a month. I haven't had a single alcoholic drink since I've been in Dubai because I have 2.5 years of work to catch up on. You know, I woke up this morning, what did I message you? 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I went to sleep at 2 last night. I'm sleeping 5-6 hours. I've got so much to do. I'm not going to turn up here hungover. I've got so much work to do and so much to talk about and to get my message out that I've got no business drinking right now. When things slow down and I'm on a 3-4 hour workday again, that would be nice. Then I'll have some drinks with my friends.
Yeah,
But until then, I can take it or leave it. And a lot of people can't. So I understand why, there's a difference between I don't drink and I'm 7 years sober. It's a different sentence structured in a different way because some people are just like, you know what, I'm better off without this stuff. I need to quit, Whereas I think I function perfectly fine.
See, I'd love to go out and have a nice steak, nice red wine.
Yeah.
But it would just it doesn't, it's the feeling it gives me. It's the freedom.
Yeah.
It takes my pain away.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel loved. It makes me feel relaxed. I feel happy.
Well, you're pretty loved anyway, bro. You're pretty loved. You got a lot of people in the world who love you and respect you. My brother and myself being two of them.
I don't know where you're watching this video, but it might not be around forever. The Matrix may take it down. However, up here, there's a link to my Telegram channel. Please click it. All the daily Tristan Tate content is going to be posted there, and that channel isn't going anywhere.